Hope everyone's having a great Wednesday. My name is Leonard Thomas. Good morning, Ray. Good morning, Jen. I have been selling homes for over 33 years. I have helped close to 1,500 families buy, sell, and lease real estate. Good morning, Billy and Josie. And I have been training agents for almost this long. Good morning, Christina and Ricky. And so my real estate channel is going to be a little different than a lot of the real estate channels out there in that I'm not looking for buyers and sellers. I'm looking to help other realtors with their business. So if you're joining us this morning, thank you so much. Let me know any questions or comments you may have about your businesses or your processes. I'd love to help you move pegs forward. And if you're watching this morning and you're not in real estate, but you're curious about how home buying and home selling works, feel free to ask a question down below. Training agent, Josie, is it worth the training? Well, yeah, definitely. I think the more training that real estate agents get, the better chance that they can satisfy the wants and needs of home buyers and home sellers and help them move pegs forward. So definitely, I would say training should help. I guess the right training should help. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Alan. Hope everyone's having a good morning. If you're just joining, I'm Leonard Thomas. I've been selling homes for over 33 years. I've helped close to 1,500 families buy, sell, lease, and invest in real estate. And I've been training agents for almost 3 decades. So my channel is about helping other agents with their business. I lost y'all, their businesses, their processes. Learning from my mistakes. So, if you're joining us this morning, thank you so much. If you're in real estate, please ask me any question in the comments below and I'll try to answer it. Good morning, Ashley. Good morning, Alan. And if you're not in real estate and you're joining us this morning just because you're curious about real estate, I'm happy to try to answer any of your questions about buying or selling homes. Good morning, user. Good morning, Dave. Oh, so I had a question. I'm thinking of joining a mentorship for buying and renting cheap homes out of state to rent through an Oscar C. Um, I guess I'd need to know what market you're talking about, Oscar. I would say I'm here in Dallas, Texas. Hey, Juan, good to see you, my friend. Oh, South Texas. I thought you were over in West Texas. My fault. Oscar, so it really depends. In my market, it would be very difficult to do really well with cash flow with lease properties because during COVID, the price jumped up so. Oh, in San Antonio. So here in Texas, San Antonio market may be different than the Dallas market, but during COVID, the market values of properties skyrocketed like everywhere else, but the rent prices didn't skyrocket as much. So I have a lot of investor clients that are looking for lease properties, single family residences, duplexes, fourplexes. And for the most part, unless they're putting 40 to 50% or more down, it's really, really hard to cash flow because non-owner occupant interest rate is so high. The market value is still super high, but the lease value isn't as high. So it's really, really hard to cash flow. Now, regarding Section 8 down in San Antonio, I just don't have enough data points. Haven't done any Section 8 in my 33-year career. So I'm sorry I don't have a better answer for you. Hi, Riley. Riley, you've been watching for a little bit. Are you in real estate or just curious about real estate? Hi, Jessica. New agent just got my nice. Oh, fantastic. So, where are you licensed? Juan, I'm going to promise to answer that question, although you asked me that question yesterday and I'm no, I'm going to answer that, Juan, but let me talk with Riley and then we'll get to that. You both are new agents though, so hopefully what I tell Riley is what market are you in, Riley? Hi, Laura. Minnesota, Twin Cities. Okay. So I told Juan, who's also watching this morning, who recently got licensed. So I'm going to say three really important things, Riley, to remember. And like I said to Juan jokingly yesterday, four. First of all, forget everything you memorized to get your license. I've been doing this 33 and a half years. And probably 90% of what I had to memorize to get my license 1,000 years ago, I've never even used in my real estate career. So forget most of what you learned to most of what you memorized to get your license, but then let's get to the three important things. One, don't stop learning though. A lot of agents cram to get their license and then they never learn again except for continuing education or if a title company, an escrow company, whatever it's called up in Minnesota, has a free lunch, and they offer you a free lunch to come listen to a roofer talk for a half hour. So don't stop learning. Learn everything you can about inspection reports, about title commitments, about surveys, about air conditioning units, Minnesota heating units, furnaces, heat pumps, whatever you have up there. Try to learn every single day, because what you'll find, you may see it already, but agents that in your office that have been in the business 5, 10, 15, 20 years, they may still only make 40 or $50,000 a year, because so many realtors stop learning and they repeat the same year over and over and over again. So if you want to be successful in real estate, at least in my opinion, you have to keep learning. That's one step. Important thing number two, if Riley's still watching. Number two, super, super important. You don't have a boss. You don't have set hours. You don't have time blocking. You don't have checks and balances. You have no accountability for the most part. And it's really, really easy when you get your license to wake up in the morning and say, hey, I don't have to do anything. I can either go do the difficult part of real estate, which is prospecting, learning, memorizing contracts and addenda, or I can go hang out with the girls or my significant other, or I can go to the park or coffee. I can go do whatever I want to do over here. And what you're going to find in real estate, if you're not doing the hard stuff over here, it's really hard to get paid, because if when you choose the easy path, when you choose to take time off and go have free time, you're not making any money. So what I want you to do as a new agent is I want you to act like you are your own boss. Have set hours, have accountability, time block for prospecting, and track your expenses, track your mileage. I mean, treat your business like a business, because if you treat real estate like a hobby, as I often say, you're going to get paid like it's hobby. And then three, I don't know if, oh, you're near Twin Cities, which is a big, big metroplex, lots of population. I think the best way for a new agent to come into contact with people needing home buying and home selling services are open houses. When I first got in the business 33 and a half years ago, all I did were open houses. Sometimes I would do two a day, 10 to 1 and then 2 to 5. But you want to do as many open houses as possible. If you're not following me yet, I hope you do. I do a lot of videos on how to do successful open houses, how to create massive value for your home buyers and home sellers. But open houses, as far as I'm concerned, are the absolute best way for a new agent to come into contact with a lot of people needing home buying and home selling services. Riley, are you still watching, and did that help at all? What I want you to do is every Sunday night, look at the next 7 days of your calendar and pick out times where you're going to prospect, pick out times where you're going to focus on learning, pick out times where you're going to do open houses. So start blocking. Now, Riley and anyone else watching, in my opinion, there's 4 types of time management in real estate, and they look like this. And there's a video on this, Riley, if you don't catch everything I'm about to say. A time is any time that as a real estate agent is face to face with a home buyer or a home seller. And that is one of 4 things. It's either a listing presentation, showing homes, doing a seller interview like at a coffee shop, or doing a buyer interview at a coffee shop. So those are the 4 types of A time, face to face with someone thinking of buying or selling. Then you have B time. B time is anything a realtor does to make A time. So we call that prospecting. So going to open houses is B time, because open houses can lead to face-to-face appointments with a buyer or seller. Prospecting, cold calling, warm calling, calling your sphere of influence, door knocking, all of those prospecting is called, in my opinion, I call it B time. Then, Riley, you have C time. C time is what I call real estate busy work. It's anything you generally will do at your real estate office, preparing for a listing presentation, preparing for an open house, doing a market analysis, going to training, going to office meetings, previewing homes. Now, very important. I am not saying that C time is dumb, wasteful, not important. One of the things I said in C time is preparing for a listing presentation. Obviously, you don't want to go on a listing presentation without preparing for it. So see time is definitely important. But what new agents tend to do is they tend to avoid the harder prospecting stuff, which means they don't have a lot of face-to-face time with buyers or sellers, which means they want to do something, so they do a lot of busy work. They're at the office. Spoiler alert, Riley, no one at your office is going to buy or sell a home from you. So try to stay away from the C time as much as possible. And then of course D time is free time. It's hobby time. It's time with family, time with significant others. It's time doing what you love doing. So we grind out the A, B, and C time so we have as much D time as possible. So again, there's a video or two or three on that. I hope that helps, Riley. As far as I hope that answered your question about time blocking. So Juan's question is, what are the most common reasons agents lose deals? And I just wanted to make sure I understood the question correctly. Hi, Marcellus. Do you mean the deal once it's in escrow, or why they lose clients before they buy or sell a home? Juan says, so before they buy or sell, okay, so it's super easy. Juan's question is, to paraphrase, why do agents not, how do agents lose business with people that were thinking of buying or selling a home, but then end up not buying or selling a home, at least with them? It's super, super easy. Agents have to continue to create value for the home buyers and home sellers they're working with, because as soon as an agent stops creating value for that home buyer or home selling client, that home buying and home selling client is very likely going to use someone else that is creating that value for them. So what happens is, not you specifically, Juan, but let's say an agent thinks they're doing a good job, but they're not checking in with the home buyer that they're working with. They keep sending properties from the multiple listing service to the buyer. They keep showing properties. They keep following up with the buyer. But then all of a sudden, and I saw a video on TikTok about this yesterday. A realtor posted a video that was very upset that they were. This is great, Juan. The realtor posted a video. They were very upset because they discovered on Facebook that this buyer they had been working with, I don't know for how long. If it said, I forgot. They discovered on Facebook that this buyer had that bought a home not from them, and they were really upset about it. And we've all been there, but the most important part as an agent is to figure out why that happened. Don't post a video and be upset because, it's okay. Most real estate videos are about, look at, this beautiful $5 million listing that isn't even my listing, but so impressive. Most real estate videos are about successes. And behind the curtain, obviously, there's a whole lot of failures out there. And I think it's really, really important that when an agent doesn't get the outcome that they had hoped, that the agent figures out why they didn't get that outcome. And it has nothing to do with the buyer going behind their back, buying from someone else. It has generally to do with the realtor not creating enough value to keep the buyer there. I think that if the agent stops creating value, that the buyer has every right to go find another realtor that's going to meet the needs that they're looking for. You've had many clients stop responding to you the day of signing. So they signed the buyer rep agreement and then you kept reaching out to them and they basically ghosted you. I build custom homes. I'm not a realtor yet. Oh, okay. As a home consultant for a builder. No, I remember that part. So when you say offer and acceptance, oh, so you say, so your family business is building custom homes, and people will sign a contract to build a home with you and then disappear. I want to make sure I understand. Good morning, Night Raoul. So I was on live yesterday, and I talked about a listing presentation that I had last night. I promised an update this morning. So I went on a listing presentation. They are interviewing 3 realtors. I was the first of 3 realtors. I will pause my story. Mayani asks, working for an owner developer, but you're in Dubai, right, Mayani? Oh, you're in Florida. Okay. Is it better to work for an owner developer, or is it better to work for individual brokerage? Well, I'm going to guess that the difference is, if you're working for an owner developer. Oh, got it. Thanks, Mayani. Good morning, Kelly Clark. So is it better to work for an owner developer? or an individual brokerage? Well, if you work for an individual brokerage, you're your own boss. You're your own company. You're your own business. It's up to you to generate the leads. It's up to you to, to go figure out how to find home buyers and home sellers and create your own services to satisfy the wants and needs of those home buyers and the home sellers. If you work for a developer, I think you would probably be more a host or a hostess where they have a subdivision. They probably have a model home, and so you might even be on salary with bonuses, or you may be on commission only, but at least you're staying in a model home. So it really depends on your personality. You're probably going to have set hours that you're probably going to be more an employee if you work for a development. And if you work for a brokerage, then you're your own business. So it would depend on your personality. I would say you probably have more income potential working at your own brokerage because you're your own business and you can work more hours, work more days, and you can do the activities that not only you're more comfortable with, but you find are more successful. Whereas if you work for a developer, I'm guessing you're in a model home and you're sort of stuck in that model home. Shade Ray, thanks for joining, Shade. I'm very interested in becoming an agent. Some advice to become one. Best way to get my license. What market are you in, Shade? Good morning, Amina. I don't know much about commercial real estate, Manny. I've been selling homes for over 33 years, but I never really got into commercial. So I don't know if it would be the same for commercial, and I don't want to pretend I know the answer. California, okay. So I don't know. Well, I do know how to become a agent in California because I have a broker's license in California, but inactive for 1,000 years. I've been in Texas for most of the last 40 years. So real estate's a fantastic business if you're ready to hustle. Real estate is a fantastic business if you're good at self-managing because there's no boss in real estate. If you're becoming a real estate agent, there's no set hours. There's no systems of checks and balances and accountability. So if you're good at managing yourself, if you're good at not getting off task, then real estate is a fantastic way to not only help a lot of people, but also get compensated fantastically for helping people. Please do, Miami. I'm happy to answer, and I hope you follow the channel so that you can see other videos that pop up that may be helpful for you out in Florida. We have a bunch of Florida followers. Good morning, Raji. And anyone else watching today, if you're in real estate and have any questions about your real estate business, your real estate processes, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to try to help you be more successful. Do you have any tips for getting comfortable with cold calling and having success? Yes, definitely. So, Riley, I think especially as a new agent, here is probably the best way to cold call with success. And when you say cold calling, are you talking about expireds, canceled, for sale by owners? Who would you be cold calling? I want to make sure I answer the best question, the right question. Okay, expireds and FISBOs. Yes. So the best way to cold call expireds and for sale by owners is this, Riley. Don't call. And this is what I mean. At least in my market in Dallas, hundreds of agents call expireds and for sale by owners every single day. Hundreds of agents mail crap to expireds and for sale by owners every day. You know what they don't do every day, Riley? Knock on the door. So, what I want you to do is, I want you to knock on the doors of the expireds, knock on the doors of the for sale by owners, because I used to do tons. And when I first got in the business, and this was back before there were iPhones, because I'm old, I've been doing this 33 and a half years. This is back before iPhones, this is back before internet. All I did when I got licensed is drive up and down the street looking for the red and white for sale by owner signs. And all I did was knock on for sale by owner doors all day long. And let me tell you, one of the best things about knocking on for sale by owners or expireds or canceled listings, I used to ask them, I'd get in the house and we'd be talking about their home, and we'd sit down eventually and I'd ask them, I'd say, let me ask you a question. How many phone calls have you gotten from realtors since you've been trying to sell your home by yourself? And they would say, oh my gosh, every day it's like 8 calls. It's driving me crazy. I said, fantastic. How many postcards or letters or form letters have you gotten from realtors trying to, offering to sell your home? And I'll tell you what, so often they would have a bag of all these postcards and all these form letters, black and white printouts of, again, this is 30 something years ago, black and white printouts from all these realtors. And then I would ask them, fantastic. Let me ask you, how many people have knocked on your door and tried to figure out what you're trying to accomplish and met with you face to face? And you know what the answer always was, Riley? Zero. I was always the only one that had ever knocked. And I got a lot of listings when I first got in the business because I was the only one that showed up. Now it's a little, and I'll tell you what, here's the other thing. There's a do not call list, Riley, but there's not a do not knock list. So it takes a little bit more oomph and inner strength to go knock on the door. And you're going to get some rejections, but learn from every one of those rejections. Was there an objection you couldn't overcome? Was there something they asked you that you didn't know the answer to? And then go learn from that failure. Was there something they asked you that you didn't know the answer to? And then go learn from that failure, learn from that rejection, and then go back out and do it again, because you'll do it a little better each time. Learn from each experience. But in my opinion, do not call. Everyone's calling. There's nothing magical you're going to be able to say on the phone that's going to increase the chances you get that appointment. There's nothing you're going to be able to say on that phone that's going to increase the chances that you figure out what that expired listing or that for sale by owner, what they're trying to accomplish. Go knock on the door. More importantly, Riley, if you're still watching, good morning, Nikki. Riley, if you're still watching, I want you to go knock on 3 or 4 doors today, and then either send me a DM, let me know how it went, send me a DM, tell me what good, what bad happened. I'll help you with the bad. I'll help you overcome the objections that you may have run into, or join the live. I'm trying to go live roughly every morning now. But Riley, if you're still watching, go knock on 3 doors and let me know how it goes. So, Miami, are you newly licensed, Miami, or have you been licensed for a while and you're just deciding which direction to go? So while you're answering, Miami, what is your best strutting life routine and schedule to make the most of being newly licensed? So, Riley, I'm going to answer your question with the moderators if they help me remember Riley's question. Best advice to structuring. No, I understood what you meant. Um, it's difficult, Miami, structuring real estate and life. Because my brand of real estate is very hands-on. I am not about my paycheck. I mean, I'm not doing it for free, but I've never been about the paycheck. If you watch any of my videos, anyone watching today, I hope you're following the channel. You'll see from my videos, I am not about the commission. I'm not about the paycheck. Again, not doing it for free. I'm all about building relationships with my clients. I'm very fortunate now, 33 years later, that almost the majority of my business is by referral, because I always put the client first, right? So one of the downsides to doing that is I've never had phenomenal boundaries. I say jokingly. So, it's always been my philosophy that if someone is entrusting the largest purchase of their life or the largest sale of their asset in their life to me, let's say someone's listing their $2 million house with me, and if it's 9:30 at night and they have a question, or we're in escrow and they're concerned about something having to do with the contract, there is almost never a time where I'm not going to go get up out of bed and have an hour conversation with my client at 9:30 at night, 10:30 at night. I've done it after midnight at night. If they're concerned, if they're anxious, if they're feeling worry, my style of real estate is I am always going to be there for the client. I have come home from vacations before to try to fix deals that are going south, and it had nothing to do with getting paid. It had to do with I take that responsibility so seriously. A lot of realtors will tell me I take it too seriously, and I'm not even saying they're wrong. So I haven't yet answered your question. How do you structure it? Well, I might be the wrong person to ask, because at the end of the day, of course, my family always comes first, but I try really, really hard always to be there for all of my clients. And, there's times during the summer, during the busy season, where we may have 10 or 15 escrows, 10 or 15 deals in escrow, and 8 to 15 listings. That's a lot of clients that are depending on me to answer their questions. And again, there are a lot of there's lots of ways to do real estate. Mine is not the right way or the wrong way or the best way. It's the way that works for me and my conscience, and the way I am. I hate to use the word emotionally, but that's who I am as a person. There are a lot of successful realtors that have it set up a lot more like a business where they're the CEO and they have a director of operations that handle those phone calls, and they have buyer agents over here, listing agents over here. And I'm not saying that's wrong. I'm just saying it would be almost impossible for my personality to give the negotiation of that offer over to anyone but me, or the negotiation of repairs to anyone but me. That's just not who I am. So I don't know that I ever answer your question, mostly because I don't know I'm the best person to answer it. Riley, are you still watching, Riley? You had a question about knocking on the door. Good morning, Big G. Riley, still here. Thank you so much. So the most important thing when you're knocking on the door, whether it's expired, canceled, or for sale by owners, is you want to get to the bottom of what they're trying to accomplish. Yes, they're trying to sell their home, but oftentimes it's beyond that. They need a certain price. There's an urgency. There's not an urgency. So, when you knock on the door, I think it's going to be difficult to figure out what they're trying to accomplish at the front door. So really, you want to create enough value at the front door when you're knocking to where they're comfortable letting you in to take the conversation further. What you don't want to do, if you can avoid it, is have long conversations at the front door. So 1,000 years ago, when I was knocking on for sale by owners, I would literally knock on the door and I'll say, "Hey, my name is Leonard Thomas with XYZ Realty. And I was just wondering, if I brought a buyer to your home, are you willing to cooperate with realtors?" Because I did have buyer clients. Now, again, this is back before the internet. This is back before, the MLS and all. We used to have MLS books. The only way you can find listings were through print. So I would say, listen, if I have a buyer for your home, are you willing to cooperate with me? Or are you willing to cooperate with a realtor? And they might say, well, what do you mean by cooperate? And I would say, if I brought one of my buyers to your home and they liked it enough to make an offer on the home, would you be willing to pay me a 3% commission? And if they said yes, I'd say, fantastic. Do you mind if I preview your home so I can find it, so I can determine if anyone that I'm working with now would be interested in it? And if no one I'm working with right now is interested in it, I know about your home for the next person. So really, it's about getting inside the home and then trying to figure out what they're trying to accomplish. Now, if you don't have a buyer for the home, don't tell them you have a buyer for the home. Never, ever, ever, ever lie. You might have if your office has a listing nearby. This is what I was going to get at 10 minutes ago. I prefer warm door knocking, and what mean by warm door knocking is you're knocking on the door actually with a purpose. You're knocking on the door and you're creating value. So what you may want to do, Riley, is find a listing in a subdivision or a neighborhood that you're going to have an open house on Sunday. Let's say Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. And then what you can do is you can start knocking around that listing. I call it 10, 10, 20. 10 houses to the left, 10 houses to the right, and 20 houses across the street. But again, you can knock anywhere, and then go knock on all these doors and say, "Hey, my name is Riley Smith, whatever your last name is. I'm with XYZ Realty, and I'm holding your neighbor's house open this Sunday from 1 to 5 p.m. right down the street at 1200 Breckenridge Boulevard. And I just wanted to give you the first opportunity to choose your new neighbors. Do you know of anyone thinking of moving into the area?" They say, "Huh, that's so funny. No, I don't. No, I don't know anybody." And you say, "Fantastic. Here's a brochure for the property. If you want to come see the open house this Sunday, 1 to 5, I'd love to show it to you." So that to me is sort of like a warm knock, because you're not trying to get into their house. You're not trying to sell them anything. You're just you're creating value. Hey, you get the first chance to pick your new neighbor, and I wanted to let you know about the house down the street. And you go knock on 100 doors just telling them about the open house. I think you're going to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people. They're going to say, "Oh, which house is that? How much are you asking? Have you had much traffic? How's the market in this neighborhood?" So be ready for those questions. And if you want to DM me, I can try to help you get set up with the best way to prepare for the warm knocking. I think that's probably going to be better or more effective for you than just straight cold knocking, but both are fantastic. Good morning, Richard. Good morning, Team Guerrero. Mayani, how do I feel about wholesalers? I have no feelings plus or minus. They're trying, that's their business. They're trying to make a living wholesaling. The only part that I don't love about wholesalers is that I get 10 text messages almost every single day from wholesalers looking for properties that need work. So I really wish they wouldn't spam me, but otherwise, I don't mind that they're trying to do what they're trying to do. I get 3 wholesaler offers on every listing I take. It doesn't offend me when they do that. They're just trying to make a living. Miami, good morning. Ann, are you in real estate? And if you are, where are you? And Miami, I don't know if they do or don't have their best interests. No one's to know. I try not to. Good morning, Caroline. I try not to worry too much about that. Caroline, in real estate, what is your market, Caroline? Where do you sell homes? I'm going on 13 years. Oh, you're in the title business now. I'm in Texas. I've been doing this. Good morning, Shanna. I've been doing this 33 years in Texas. Title and escrow are the same place. Oh, where in California? I'm originally Bay Area. Up in Connecticut, is title and escrow separate, or are they the same business? Armando, is it a good time? Is it a good time to buy investment properties? Oh, it's the same thing. Fantastic. Orange County. I was in Huntington Beach for a minute about 20 something years ago. Um, is it a good time to buy investment property? It really depends on where you're talking, Armando. I'm in Dallas, and I don't think it's a great time to buy investment unless you're probably doing all cash. The reason is this. In my market, and I think a lot of markets, during COVID, the market value of properties skyrocketed, but the lease value of properties didn't skyrocket, it barely went up. And so, with interest rates so high right now, market value so high, although it's sort of softening, but lease value down here, it is really, I have a lot of investor clients, and it's really, really hard for them to cash flow unless they're putting at least 40 to 50% down. And even then, sometimes they're not cash flowing. We are our own world in Texas compared to the rest of us. So I had a broker's license in California. Um, I'm going to answer that question, Caroline. Caroline, I hope Carolina. Sorry, moderators. I hope you'll help me remember Carolina's question. So I had a broker's license in California, and I sold out there for a couple of years again, 20 something years ago. And then I've been in Texas for most of the last 40 years. Don't do the math. I was in real estate in Texas, went to California, came back. I'm originally from California. And real estate in California is so different than real estate in Texas. It's, I don't want to offend Carolina. I don't want to offend Carolina. How do I say this? Generally, negotiation and real estate in Texas is done in good faith. Generally, what people say to you during a real estate negotiation is mostly truthful. My experience in California real estate is there was just, let's say there's just a little bit more gamesmanship. Not that there wasn't negotiation, not that there's not, trying to get the best deal for our clients, but it just seemed that there was deal for our clients, but it just seemed that there was a little bit more obfuscation in California. If that made Caroline is smiling. I'm trying not to offend. I'm trying not to broad brush because there's exceptions, and this is just my experience. But in Texas, my experience has been 33 plus years, mostly in Texas, is that for the most part, people are just trying to are literally just trying to be win-win. They're trying to leave a little something on the table. Everyone's trying to get to the finish line. I had a slightly less experience in California. Amma, sorry, getting commercial real estate space. So I'm going to answer your question, Caroline. I didn't forget, but I just want to tell Amma quickly. Um, I am a residential real estate agent. I would say my best advice is to find a commercial real estate agent that's been doing it for a while, that creates a lot of value, that knows the market you're trying to talk in. Carolina, best advice for helping an agent select the right brokerage. If you're not following me, Carolina, I hope you do, because I have a lot of videos especially designed for agents. Good morning, Claudia. And I have one in there about selecting the best brokerage. Here's what I think you need to do. 3 things, if I remember what I said in my video. First of all, don't focus on just the commission split, because the commission split is the size of the slice of the pie, but it doesn't talk about the size of the pie. If you go to a real estate office that has fantastic education, maybe that they give you leads, they have good mentorship, you might make more on a 50% split at an office that helps you grow your business than you would at an office at an 80% split, but they don't help you generate leads, they don't help you grow your business. So you might be getting 80%, you might be getting 90%, but the size of the pie is so slow that you're getting a huge slice of a very small pie, when sometimes the better deal for you is to get a small slice of a really big pie. So don't just focus on the commission split. That's number one. Number two, I think it's really important, especially as a new agent, that you pick a brokerage that has either a mentorship program where you're training under another agent that's been in the business, or the broker manager is extremely available and they are constantly training. A lot of brokerages, they have sort of a boot camp training where you go for 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, and then they just sort of push you out of the nest and say, do well, let us know how it goes. It's really, really important that you have someone there the entire time. I'll give you a side story. So when I first got in the business, I don't think I was in the business 3 or 4 weeks. I was holding an open house. I was so excited. I was at the open house probably an hour early. I'd put up so many signs. And so it's about 30 minutes before my open house even started, and two gals walked in. They were a couple, and they walked around, they loved the house, and they wanted to buy it. You know what I couldn't do 3 weeks into having my license, Carolina? I didn't know how to fill out the contract. And so I got out my mobile phone, which was a Motorola. It was about that long, and I'm dialing my broker, and I'm like, oh crap, someone wants to buy a house. What do I do? My open house hasn't even started. I have all these signs up. They want to make it, they want to write an offer. So my broker, of course, laughing into my big phone, says, lock the door, take down the sign in front of the house, and I'll meet you at the office. So you want to make sure you have a broker manager that is always available 9:30 at night on a Saturday. If you're talking to a buyer, especially if you're a new agent, you need to make sure you always have someone that is going to answer the phone. I don't want to make like a light of like a sober partner, but you need someone that's always going to answer the phone when you call, because you don't want to miss those opportunities, especially as a new agent. Riley, how do you make your open houses stand out, and how do you market them? Okay, love it. So I love open houses. I have held hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of open houses in my career. I think they are absolutely one of the two best ways to meet home buyers and home sellers that need your services. And lots of videos on it, Riley. But here are the three most important things, in my opinion and my experience, on how to have a more successful open house. One, the number of signs you put up. The majority of realtors that hold open houses, especially ironically, the ones that think open houses don't work, only put 3 or 4 open house signs up. I put 10 to 12 open house signs up, and I have put 15 to 20 or more open house signs up, depending on how busy the area is. Anyone watching right now, Riley, send me a DM or send me a text message. I'm Googleable, Leonard Thomas, Real Estate Dallas. Anyway, send me a DM. I'll send you my email address. Send me the address of your open house, and I'll look up on Google Maps, and I will send you a little Google map with little red dots and tell you where I would put all the open house signs. Get lots of open house signs. It's an investment that'll pay a bunch of dividends. So number one, put lots and lots and lots of signs up. Number two, if you get on your multiple listing service right now, Riley, and you look at all the open houses that are being advertised in MLS for this coming weekend, they'll be from 12 to 2, 1 to 3, 2 to 4, 3 to 5. What do you notice about all those times? They're only 2 hours. Your open houses need to be at least 3 hours, preferably 4 or 5 hours. The longer you're there, the more opportunities people are going to have to come to the open house, the more opportunities you're going to have to sell that house and meet people thinking of buying or selling a home. So number one, lots and lots more signs. Number two, lots and lots more hours. Number three, and this is where the rubber meets the pavement, This is the best open house technique I can give realtors, whether you're seasoned or brand new, in how to have a more successful open house. I call it 3 up and 3 down. And no, it's not the end of the inning. This is what it is. So you're holding an open house up in Minnesota, or was it Wisconsin? I'm going to embarrass myself. I'm old. Don't hold me. Don't get mad, Riley. I think it was Minnesota, Twin Cities. You're holding an open house this week, and let's say it's a $500,000 listing. And if you put a ton of signs up and you stay for 3, 4, or 5 hours, in my open houses, I often get 15 to 20 groups. But let's say there's 15 groups of people that come to your open house, and you're holding a $500,000 listing open. Okay, the chances that all 15 groups that walk in are looking for exactly that floor plan, exactly that size home, exactly that price range is not high. Maybe only 2 or 3 of those 15 groups are looking for exactly your size or your price home, which means there are 10, 11, 12 groups of people that are going to be looking for something smaller or less expensive, and there's going to be a bunch of people that are looking for something bigger or more expensive. So knowing that, most realtors, what they do when someone walks in and the house doesn't work for them, most realtors say, well, if you give me your name and number, I'll do some homework and call you back. That's what all other realtors do. That's what average realtors do. I want you to be better than average. So knowing that people that walk into your open house will frequently be looking in the area, but for something smaller or bigger, what I want you to do is the Monday or Tuesday before your open house, I want you to go find 3 houses less expensive than that one in the area, 3 houses more expensive than that one in the area. And I want you to go preview all 6 houses. I want you to learn all 6 houses. Back when I was doing it nonstop, I would put the address of one of the houses on the front of a 3x5 note card, and then I would flip it over and put the price, the square footage, the year built, and maybe 1 or 2 features about the home. And then memorize those homes. And then on Sunday, when you're holding your $500,000 house open and someone walks in, you show them the house, they like the area, but that house isn't going to work for them. Maybe they're only qualified up to 400,000. Instead of saying, give me your name and number, let me do some homework, you're going to say, totally understand. Well, the neat thing is there is a house 3 streets down. It's at 1200. It's at 1233 Breckenridge Boulevard. It's a little smaller. It's only 2,875 square feet, but they're only asking 415,000. They've totally updated the kitchen. It has granite countertops, stainless steel appliances. In fact, my open house is over at 4. I'm very happy to show you at 4:30 if it's something you might want to see. So, Riley, you see the difference between trying to get names and numbers creates no value whatsoever, or creating value and you don't even have their business yet. So, 3 up, 3 down. I've done at least one other video on it. If you haven't followed the channel, please do and go find that video. But that's how I think you do the best open houses. As far as how to market them, you can put it in the MLS, the open house that syndicates out to Zillow, realtor.com, all the .coms in the world. But other than it being on Zillow and realtor.com and Redfin and whatever big company brokerages are up there, tons of signs, lots of hours, 3 up, 3 down. What's your advice for those trying to get started as an agent? 3 important things, Emma, and I did this earlier in the live, and so I want to give you a brief. I'll answer the question briefly, but I have videos on this, and I already did this in the live, but I want to answer you briefly. Emma, number one, don't stop learning. Forget everything forget most of what you learned to get your license, but don't stop learning. Go learn the contract, learn the listing agreement, go learn what a title policy is and how it helps the buyer. Go learn what a title commitment is. Learn everything there is to know about surveys. Learn about roof structures. Learn about the different types of foundations. I'm sorry, Emma, I forget what market you're in, but learn about foundations and air conditionings. Learn everything you can about real estate. That's number one. Number two, be your own boss. Treat real estate like a career. We don't have a boss. We don't have set hours. I want you to set your own hours. I want you to time block for prospecting, open houses, learning. Be your own boss, because a lot of realtors that treat real estate like a hobby are going to end up getting paid like a hobby, and they're going to be out of this business in less than a year or 24 months. Number three, just do everything you can to prospect. Go try to meet as many people thinking of buying or selling a home as possible. I think open houses are the best way. Oh, thanks, Carolina. I hope it helps. And if you have any questions, if you're about to jump off, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me directly and let me know how I can help. Oh, Adelia, you had a question. I'm trying to flip. Adelia, what market are you in? Carolina, yes. So when I take a listing, I have a checklist for everything. I have a video about a week ago that I am very, very OCD. My checklist, Carolina, have checklist, and I'm not even kidding. So I've been doing this for so long that it's just easiest for me to have a checklist for everything. There's less chance I make mistakes. There's less chance things get fall between the cracks. So one of the things on my I have a new listing checklist is determine the open house signage. So I'll either drive the neighborhood if I haven't already, and if I have the listing, I've driven the neighborhood, and then I'll go to a Google map and I will figure out the flow of traffic and the best way to place my signs. But again, Carolina, send me an address, send a DM or send me an email or send me a text. Again, I'm Googleable, not difficult to find me online. And I'll give you an example or two. Hey, this is where I would put my open house signs. I'm happy to try to help you learn. Again, that sounded wrong. Happy to try to help. Would you recommend getting a degree in business for a starting point? Thanks, Maddie. No, definitely you don't need a business degree to get in real estate. I have a degree from a college. I studied business and Japanese in college. And I would say, other than the negotiation class, and then the Japanese, when I've had Japanese clients, there is not much in college that has helped me sell almost 1,500 homes in my career. Doesn't hurt, but I think those 4 years could probably be invested. That time, that 4 year time can probably be invested differently. Now, that's strictly from a real estate standpoint. Do I think it's good to have the degree as a backup? Probably, but that's coming from a father and a grandfather, not as a realtor giving real estate advice. Can I ask what some of the mistakes that have taught you your biggest lessons? Oh, absolutely, Riley. Great question. I'm going to answer it in general, and then I'm going to try to figure. Well, yeah, yeah. So when I first got in the business, I was a 21-year-old right out of college, and my personality was still I wanted to help. And I don't know why I put it in quote. I always wanted to help the people with buy or sell a home, but obviously, as a 21-year-old kid right out of college, it was also sort of exciting. I didn't have a boss. I had, I got to make my own hours, and I sold a lot of homes right when I first got my license, because I was out there. I was doing a lot of prospecting. I was doing a lot of things other agents didn't want to do, like knock on doors. Um, One of the things that kept me from making the most amount of mistakes, though, and I said it earlier, really, really important. So I would knock on a lot of doors, and mostly for sale by owners, and I got rejected a lot because I was knocking on 10 doors a day, right? So what would happen is I would knock on that first door. I would, try to create value, try to see if I could help them, sell their home. And they would say, "You're too young." Or when I first got in the business, I worked for Better Homes and Gardens, which 33 years ago, no one had heard about Better Homes and Gardens real estate. They're definitely bigger now than they were then. 33 years ago, if you said Better Homes and Gardens to anyone, they would say, "What, you mean the magazine?" And I was like, "Yeah, the magazine. We're also in real estate." So they'd never heard of my company, an objection I had to overcome. "You're too young." Did I already say that? "You haven't sold enough homes." Well, I'd sold none. So I had to overcome objections. So what I would do is I would knock on the door, I'd have a conversation. Sometimes I got inside, sometimes the conversation went further. But if I didn't get the listing, I would go back to my car. At that time, it was a two-door truck, Blazer. And I would pull out a notebook. There was no iPhones, right? So I'd pull out a notebook and I would write down three things. What objection did I come up against that I didn't know how to overcome? What did I say that sounded pretty good and seemed to go over well with the client? I'd write it down so I didn't forget. And I would try to write down three things. And then at the end of the day, I'd go back to the office or I'd go back to my condo and I would study. I would study. I used a lot of 3x5 cards. I'm a visual learner. I would write down something that I said that sounded pretty good. And I would practice, like note cards, like if you were learning another language or vocabulary words. And if there was an objection that I didn't know how to handle correctly, I would write down the objection and what I should say on the other side. And I would study and I would role play in front of a mirror. Well, you're new in the business, you're too young, I've never heard of your company. And I would role play how to create value out of what they were saying. And then the next day, Riley or Caroline, I'm sorry, who asked? I apologize. I would go back out. Riley asked. I'd go back out and I'd start door knocking again. But then when they said, well, you haven't been in the business that long. All right, I practiced this yesterday. I would try to figure out how to still create value. And I call it overcoming objections. I wasn't trying to sell them. I was trying to figure out how to create value for them. But from our standpoint, let's say overcome that objection. And I would get a little better doing that. But then I would go back to but there was some other objection that I would have to go back. Well, I don't want to pay a commission, or your commission is too much. I'd go back to the car, write it down, go home, try to solve it, go back out. And it sounds monotonous, but this is a business, right? There are only so many objections that a realtor can come up against in their business. And now, 33 years later, like I had a listing presentation last night. A lot of realtors, they go on a listing presentation, they get a little nervous. What am I going to do when they talk about commission? What am I going to do when they say, I've never heard of your company, or have you sold enough homes? I never get nervous going on a listing presentation because I've seen absolutely everything in 33 years. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to get every listing I go on. I have a pretty high success rate going because I think I'm pretty decent at figuring out what they're trying to accomplish, what their wants are, what their needs are, what their expectations are. I think I have a number of services that the average realtor probably doesn't demonstrate during a listing presentation. And so I have a decent success rate, but it's from all of those rejections. It's from all those, I hate calling it failures, Riley, but all those times I door knocked and got my 21-year-old butt handed to me. I learned from every one of those door knocks, so that now 33 years later, it's hard to get me off track. Nita, how are you? I didn't know if you were going to join this morning. Hope everything's going well in Oklahoma. Good morning, Haley. You do, Nita. It's not the same without you. Kate, how are things going in Arkansas? Good morning, Bob. Mary, thanks so much for the follow. Oh, lunch break. Are you selling houses today, Kate? Are you prospecting today? What are my tips on negotiation, Nita? Well, that is a fantastic question. Now, I will, of course, say that I've done a bunch of videos about negotiation. Representing the buyer or representing the seller, Nita, because there's a bunch on both sides. I want to focus on one or the other. Good morning, Christy. Thanks for joining. When you're negotiating a home for a buyer, and there's a house that they're interested in, I think it's really important that you know roughly what the most your buyer is willing to spend on the house. So let's say you found a house, the list price is 400,000, and the buyer says to you, hey, what should I offer? Because the buyers that I work with will always ask, what should I offer? And it's almost impossible to answer that question if I don't know what the most they're willing to pay for it is. Because if they're willing to pay 400,000 for it, and the market analysis shows that 400, let's say, is roughly a fair price, I need to know that, because if I just answer 300, let's offer 350,000. Well, if they're willing to pay 400 and I tell them offer 350, and they make that $350,000 offer, what's probably going to happen is the seller's going to get pissed. Again, my hypothetical was they're asking 400,000 and it's a reasonable price, and we offer 350,000. What's probably going to happen is the seller's going to get pissed. The seller's probably going to reject the offer outright, and then the buyer's going to say, "Okay, well, let's go up. Let's offer 360,000." But when a buyer makes an offer on a listing and the seller rejects the offer, and then the buyer makes a higher offer without the seller coming down, I think that's really, really, really bad for the buyer from a negotiation and leverage standpoint, for this reason. Seller's asking 400,000, buyer offers 350, seller says no, buyer says, okay, how about 360? What the buyer has just done is train the seller to say no to you because the buyer just made a bid against themselves. They came up 10,000, the seller came down nothing. The listing agent representing that seller, if they've been in the business more than a minute, what they're going to tell the seller to do is say no again, see what happens. So seller's asking 400, buyer offers 350, seller says no, buyer says okay, how about 360? In my opinion, the seller should probably say no again just to see if the buyer will keep bidding against themselves. So, number one thing is try to find out roughly what your buyer is willing to pay and take that into consideration when you answer the question, what should I offer on the property? Nita, did that help? I don't want to get 7 layers deep into negotiation, but that is the first thing that I would suggest. I have a full-time 8 to 5 right now. I'm trying to escape, so I am currently great. So is your 8 to 5 Monday through Friday only, or do you have any Saturday and Sunday availability? Are you working real estate Saturday and Sunday? Good morning, Zara, if I pronounced that correctly. Okay, you're licensed though, right, Riley? You're licensed in Arkansas, if I recall. Oh, Riley, I apologize. Kate's in Arkansas. You're up in Minnesota. Um, but you're licensed and you can. Riley, are you working real estate on the weekends? Okay, but Riley, are you going to hold open houses this weekend? You can hold open houses if you're licensed, Riley. I want you to be holding open houses this week, even if you're holding open houses with another licensed agent in your office. I'm going to mispronounce your first name, Shalise. I'm going to call you Miss Holzhauser. I'll probably mispronounce your last name. So sorry. I hope you follow my channel and subscribe to the newsletter, Shalise. I have a lot of videos designed for new agents. The most important lesson in 30 years, here it is, and it's going to sound commonsensical, but as many hundreds of agents as I've trained, I'm always shocked about this. Learn every single day from what you're doing in real estate. So today you're going to do something in real estate. You're going to go to the office. You might do a market analysis. You might cold call. You might call your sphere of influence. This weekend, you better be holding an open house or four. Learn every single time. So if you call your sphere of influence and you get off the phone with someone and it wasn't a great conversation, either you didn't connect with your own sphere of influence or real estate came up and they asked you a question you really didn't know. I want you to either open up a note on your iPhone. I used a a spiral notebook when I got in business 33 years ago. And I wrote down, I used to door knock a lot. So I would write down, this objection came up and I didn't know how to overcome it. And then I would go practice overcoming that objection. Or I would say something that sounded really good, or I'd hold an open house. Someone would come into my open house. And the first time I held an open house, someone would walk in and they'd say, "Hey, how old is the roof?" I'm here in Texas and the age of the roof is important. The age of the air conditioning, super important. So someone walked into my open house and they said, "How old is the roof?" And I'm like, I don't know. I'm 21 years old. I'm in an open house. I don't know the age. Let me go find out. But then at the end of the open house, I opened up that spiral and I wrote down all the questions that people would ask me that I didn't know the answer to. And I started to learn, okay, when people walk into my open house, they're going to want to know, how old is the roof? How old is the home? What's the square footage? What year was the home built? They're going to ask me those questions. And so I learned, next time I hold an open house, make sure I can answer those questions. There are so many realtors in real estate that have been in the business 20 years, but they still only sell 4, 5, 6 houses a year. And that could be by choice. I'm not judging, but oftentimes it's not by choice. And it's my experience that those realtors, for the most part, are just repeating the same year over and over and over again. And they're not growing their business. They're not learning from their mistakes. And I know this because any of the realtors watching this live right now, if you scroll through TikTok and you watch videos by other realtors, when they're not, doing videos in listings that most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, it's not even their listing. It's a $3 million property. The production value is very high. It's very nice, but again, not their listing, or they're getting coffee, get ready with me. And I'm not judging these videos. I'm just saying when you watch a lot of these videos, I just feel like a lot of these agents aren't going to be here in a year. They're not growing year by year by year. They're not learning. A lot of agents get their real estate license and then they stop learning. And the only time they learn again is when they have continuing education, or they have to, or they go to a title company, or they're going to a new home builder and there's a luncheon and there's a free lunch. And a lot of these videos will talk about not getting a listing, and then they sort of talk down on the person that didn't give them the listing. I saw a video yesterday by a realtor that was upset that their friend, they saw on Facebook that their friend didn't use them to buy a house, and not really a good friend. And I'm like, I'll tell you what, it has nothing to do with them, and it has to do with probably something you did or didn't do. Either you didn't create value with that friend, you didn't satisfy the wants, needs, and desires of their home buying process. I'm a big fan of, if you're a realtor and you didn't get the outcome that you expected, then go look in the mirror and figure out what you could have said or did differently to increase the chances you got the outcome you want. I've seen on Facebook friends before bought or sold a home without me, and I never thought to myself, wow, what crappy friends. What I thought to myself is, I wonder what I did or didn't do, or what I could have done better to increase the chances that they might have called me. So, and I have videos on this on my channel. If you're watching right now and you don't follow, I hope you do. If you're watching right now and you haven't subscribed to my newsletter, there's a link tree in my TikTok bio. I hope you do. But the most important thing is, always, if you don't get the outcome you wanted, always look at yourself in the mirror. Don't blame the buyer. Don't blame the friend. Don't blame your broker. Don't blame me. Look in the mirror and figure out what you could have said or did differently to get a better result, because 99% of the time, there was something you could have done better. If you're just getting into real estate and you're watching right now, oh, I got your last name. Good. If you're just getting into real estate and you're watching right now, you're going to hear this a lot from people that have been in the business a long time. Buyers are liars, sellers are yellers. And I think both of those phrases are BS. I think those phrases, for the most part, yes, there are exceptions, but I've been doing this for 33 years. I've helped close to 1,500 families buy, sell, lease real estate. And my experience after 33 years is this: buyers are not liars, sellers are not yellers, and most of the agents that tell you either of these things just, I hate to use the word, are not very good realtors. They didn't ask the right questions. They didn't follow through with the home buyer. That home buyer went and bought from someone else even after the realtor had shown them homes, because someone else provided more value, better value, the value they were looking for. Or I work in 8 to 5 thinking about a career. Oh, you're not, okay, you're in advertising, you're thinking about a career, you're not licensed yet. Got it. Um, Kate, go get your license no matter what. There's no reason not to, except for the expense, if you don't mind the expense. Riley, I want to make sure I answered your question if you're even still watching. Kate, how do you pick? Good. 2 questions. Moderator, I hope you help me with both of Kate's questions. How do we make it with people in the first year? And Melissa, so um, everyone watching, I'm going to get to your questions. I have a moderator that's going to help me. But Kate, in what way does a brokerage support a new realtor? So Kate, I have a recent video about helping agents pick a new video, digital marketing. Thanks so much for following. 3 important things, Kate, when you're looking for a brokerage, super important. Number 1 is make sure the brokerage has ongoing training or ongoing mentorship. A lot of brokerages, especially big ones, they'll have sort of a boot camp, training camp, the first week you're licensed, or sometimes the first 2 weeks you're licensed, and then they sort of push you out of the nest and pray that you fly. You really want to pick a brokerage that has continuous learning, continuous education there at the office. Really, really important. Or a mentorship where they put new agents with a seasoned agent. Really, really important. 2, you want to make sure you get with an office that has a broker manager that is always available to you. There's nothing worse than being new in the business, working hard with a home buyer, showing lots of homes, and they find a home, they're ready to make an offer, and you start to get a little lost with the paperwork. And let's say it's 6 o'clock on a Saturday, you've been showing homes all day, and they're ready to make an offer, and you're like, oh crap, I mean, I've looked at the contract before, but I'm starting to feel a little stuck, and you might lose that deal. So you want to make sure you have access to a broker manager 7 days a week that is always available to you. And then the third thing I'd say, Kate, is don't hyper focus on the split. And if you don't know what the split is, at most brokerages, agents pay a certain amount of the commission they earn to the office. Okay. So let's say you make $1,000 commission. I know much bigger, but the math is easier for this old person brain. So let's say you make a $1,000 commission. If you're on a 75% split with your brokerage, you keep 75% of that $1,000, $750, and you give 25% of it to the brokerage, $250. So a lot of agents getting in the business, they sort of hyper focus on finding the largest split. Let's say they try to find an 80% split, an 85% split, but I think it's really short-sighted for this reason. If you go, let's say you find an office, Kate, that's offering a 90% split to brand new agents. That's amazing. You get to keep 90% of your commission, right? But let's say they don't have a lot of training. Let's say there's not a lot of hands-on with the broker manager. So let's say you join that office, and because you didn't have a lot of training and because you had to really learn it on yourself by yourself, and you can learn it by yourself. You don't have to have someone training you. It's a lot of learning from your mistakes or watching my videos, right, Kate? But let's say you have to do it by yourself, and let's say you make $50,000 in gross commissions. And because it was a 90% split, you got to keep 90% of 50,000, which means you made $45,000. That's great. That's a lot of money. But let's look at what's behind door number two. Let's say you picked a brokerage that was only giving you 50% of the split. You're like, holy crap, that's like horrible compared to the 90% over here. But hear me out. But instead of there not being a lot of training like brokerage number one, let's say brokerage number two they put you together with a seasoned agent for the first year. There was a mentorship program where that seasoned agent was sort of your real estate buddy, and any questions you had, he or she was helping you with it. Let's say that brokerage number two gave you leads. Let's say they had listings that you were able to hold open house. Let's say there was constant learning, there were training sessions, and let's say because there was so much training, because there was so much hands-on involvement, that you learned quicker. They were able to provide you with some leads, and let's say instead of the 50,000 gross commission you did over here, let's say you made 100,000 with door number two, and even though it was only a 50% split, that's $50,000, 50% of 100,000. So it's more over here than it was over here at 50% than 90% over here. So don't just focus on the split, which is the slice of the pie. Also focus on how big the pie potentially could be. Kate, does that make sense if you're still watching? So Nita asked, should you get on a team that is, it really depends on your personality. So when I first got into the business, 21 years old, shocking, I was a pretty confident young man, and I am a go-getter, and I'm good at staying on track. I don't get off track too much. I'm sort of, I'm a bloodhound. When I'm on the scent, I pretty much stay on the scent. So it wasn't difficult for me, even at 21 years old, to get up every morning and go do the hard stuff, learn from the hard stuff, do the homework. I'm not a party guy. I was never a party guy, so it's not like I then went out and slept in the next day. So for me, I didn't really need to be on that team because I was going to go do my thing. Human, thanks so much for following. So I went and did my own thing, but every personality is different, and there's lots of ways to be successful in real estate. So whether you should get a coach or mentor right out of the gate, or whether you should join a brokerage that has a mentorship program or assigns you with a more seasoned agent, it just really depends on your personality. Depends on if you have enough savings to have a coach. If you have savings to get a coach or a mentor or to pay for training, you definitely can, but I think one can be successful without doing that. All right, Riley, you have family coming in this weekend. You're going to get a pass this weekend. I'm not going to badger you until Monday, where I hope to see you on the live if I'm going live, and I'm going to ask you about the following weekend. Deal? Oh, you will the next weekend. All right, I'm holding you to that. I'm your accountability partner for at least a day or two. Kate, how do you manage investing your money in business? It's not easy, I'll tell you that much. So the first listing, this is how old I am, Kate. The first listing I got 33 and a half years ago was $27,500. It was a 3% on my side. So when I did sell that, I got almost, $1,000. And 21-year-old kid 33 years ago, $1,000 was $1 million. And if there were money machines back then, I would have been, shooting it out of a money machine. So it's interesting when you first get in the business. And again, as a 21-year-old kid, paying quarterly taxes way back when, it took me a year or two to figure out that when I get $1,000 or even a $5,000, don't go spend the $5,000, right? So what you definitely want to do is go meet with a CPA. It may cost you $100. It may be free. I don't know, but go meet with a CPA and learn about quarterly taxes, because as realtors we have to pay quarterly payments, and if you don't pay quarterly it catches up to you very quickly. So one, go meet with an accountant and figure out what quarterly taxes look like. We pay 4 times a year. And then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you're treating your real estate as a business. You want to have, whether on QuickBooks or on Quicken, you want to keep your expenses. You want to keep your mileage. You want to treat your business like a business. You want to start budgeting for things. Real estate is not an inexpensive business to be a realtor in, between signs and fees and just expenses. So you want to make sure you're budgeting for all that. Would you feel the same way about the industry after this long? Um, yeah, so that's a great question. Do I feel real estate is the same in 2025 as it was in 1992 when I first got in the business? For the most part, yes. Obviously, when I got in real estate, there was no internet, there was no MLS. MLS back when I first got in the real estate, I'm going to freak a lot of people out, especially the young people. When I first got in real estate, we didn't have MLS. So you're going to say, well, how do you know what was on the market? How do you know what was sold? Twice a week, a big truck would back into the office parking spot, and they would give us MLS books. They were this thick. They were literally, I'm not exaggerating, ask any old person in your office, and they were literally still hot from the printing press. And you would open it up, they'd be divided into sections, and it would have all the new listings. And literally, they could be 3 days old already, but they'd have all the new listings, pending listings, sold listings. So, yes, technology has changed. My first mobile phone was 16 inches long, and now iPhones, well, they went really small, the StarTAC, and now they're sort of big again. So technology has changed, but here's what hasn't changed at all, Melissa. People want to buy a home. People want to sell a home. People want to invest in a home. People want to lease a home. And realtors are the middle people for that process. So the technology has changed. The process has changed. The prices have definitely changed. But helping people has not changed at all. How we help them has changed a little, but the ability to help them negotiate better prices when they're buying, highest possible price when they're selling. In my opinion, 90% of real estate today is the exact same as 33 years ago. What do you use to track your miles? So do, do as I say and not as I do on this one, Riley. So for me, I take a picture of my car's mileage on January 1st, and I take a picture of it on December 31st, and then my accountant just sort of guesstimates how much of my driving is personal and how much is business. Now, I think the correct way to do it is, if you get in your car to go show homes, you look at the beginning of your mileage, you show homes, you come back, you do the end of your mileage. But I'm 53 years old. I've been doing this 33 years. I've got kids, I've got grandkids. And I'll tell you what I'm not going to do, Riley. I am not going to write down every time I get in my car. No, hard pass. But the correct way to do it is, every time you go do something in your car, you write down the beginning and end mileage. There are probably a lot of apps that you just click a button and you can do it that way. Mile IQ, definitely heard of that. Autumn all year. I've heard of Mile IQ before. Definitely, you could do that. Nita, how do you talk to your sphere without sounding too salesy? It's hard. And I don't do a lot of, I wasn't really even on social media until about 6 or 7 weeks ago. And even then, my social media isn't designed, the videos that I started posting 6, 7, 8 weeks ago aren't even to try to get buyers and sellers. It's to talk with other agents, right? So I never wanted to be that guy where the friend group thought I was trying to get sales, believe it or not. So I mostly avoid talking real estate in group settings. I don't talk about a lot of real estate on social media. So one of the things that I do with my sphere of influence is I try to create value. So I don't necessarily talk real estate, but I definitely try to create value when it's, here the tax assessment, the tax protesting starts in April. So I will definitely post something about, hey, anyone, if you got your tax assessment today and you want to protest it, send me a text, email, or reach out. So I'm happy to help any way I can. So I try to create value with anyone in my circle, whether it's friends or past clients. I may send something out once or twice a year about this is when you should, look into your heating, air conditioning, this do your spring tune up, do you get ready for winter. So I always try to create value. I never really just like leading with real estate, if that makes sense. Mary Mitchell, this is my first time buying. My realtor takes so long to answer anything. Is that normal? Mary, what market are you in? Good morning, Brianna. I mean, short answer is I don't know. I will talk theoretically because I don't know your realtor. I don't want to talk about how another realtor does business. I am a very, very hands-on realtor. I've been doing this for over 33 years, and I joke with most of my clients, and they joke with me. If I don't answer a text, usually within 30 minutes, they send a welfare check to make sure I'm not trapped under a rock, that I haven't fallen, that I haven't broken my legs, that I can breathe. That's just sort of how I do real estate. I take my relationship with my client probably too seriously, a lot of realtors would say, but I take it very, very seriously. So if it takes me more than an hour or 2 hours, if I'm in an appointment to reply to a client, that's a long time and I sort of feel bad. So I'm not saying your agent is bad or unprofessional for taking longer. And I don't know what long time means to you, but every agent's going to be a little different. That's a great question. Riley asked, what are some difficult client situations? Um, I'll be honest. I'd have to think back long time ago because nowadays I have less difficult client situations because I have better conversations with my clients up front. My conversations up front, I have a video on it, and it's called asking better questions or something. It's from about a week ago. So when I'm going to meet, like last night I met with a home seller, and I talk about their needs, I talk about their urgency, their motivations, I talk about their expectations, I talk about their expectations of me, and I talk about my expectations of the process. So I get into less issues where I have difficult client situations, or at least different. I think you mean different situations with clients, my own clients. I don't really have difficult situations between me and my clients because I have better conversations up front about what their expectations of me are and their expectations of the process. Now, 30 something years ago, I was just happy to have clients to work with, and I wouldn't really have a deeper conversation about what they expected me to do. And so I'd get myself into trouble because they'd be like, oh, well, I thought you were going to I'd get a listing, and they might get upset. Oh, I thought you were going to hold an open house every weekend. I'm like, definitely not. And I know I never said that, and I would never agree to do that. But they sort of thought, well, that's just what realtors do. So they had an expectation. I didn't do a good enough job as a realtor figuring out what their expectation was, so I got caught. So one of the ways you can avoid having difficult situations with your buying clients, between you and your buying clients, and between you and your listing clients, is to have really good buyer and seller interviews. There's two ways to ask questions, and there's about 7 questions I think you should ask. And I did videos recently about that. If I didn't answer the question though, send me a DM and I'll try to answer, or at least send you the links directly.